Husband wants permission to use an egg donor outside of our marriage because of race. What should I do? Background. I've known my husband since high school. We met again abroad where we both studied and worked, and met for lunch years later, and then started dating. We have been together for 5 years, 2 years married. We decided to move back to our home, where we are both from country, once I found out I was pregnant. I'm an international adoptee from South Asia. We're both citizens of Northern Europe. My husband is white with blonde hair and blue eyes. I have South Asian features. Our child was born 2 years ago. The twist. So my husband told me on New Year's Eve that he doesn't feel a connection to our child at all. I asked him how and why, and he complained it was because of her appearance. That she has more dominant features from me, that is, dark eyes and darker hair. I swear every single friend or family member from my side has said our child looks exactly like my husband. She even has very light brown hair. Not that it matters to me, but just brown eyes. He told me that he wants a family member that looks like him with blonde hair and blue eyes. I asked him if he was open to adoption, because I am. He said no. He wants to see his own features in the child. We went back and forth until he told me he wants to use an egg donor to conceive blonde hair, blue eyes, and his genes. My first reaction was, what the fuck? I told him that's really insulting, and how the hell can he say that about his own child? And why didn't he think about this earlier before he married and had kids with me? I just bluntly told him, we've all seen the eye charts in biology class in school. Usually brown eyes dominate. Why did he spew this all out now, 1.5 years after the birth of our child? We've been going back and forth in arguments, and he always brings this topic in an argument and gives me the ultimatum of divorcing or accepting him to proceed with the white egg donor or surrogate. I have tried hashing this out in therapy with an open mind, because I have genuine questions. How do you think our current child would feel about the truth? I have discovered that many of these opinions have been formed from comments from friends or family members that have received our child as an immigrant. My question is, what's wrong with that, and what does it even matter? He also said that he would like the egg donor child to have personality traits similar to him, that is, analytical, quiet, nature lover, etc. I personally don't think you can dictate or impact another human's personality. Moreover, it's not a great reason to have children. I have told both his parents, and they've tried to talk to him. He is very adamant that this child will be the answer to his negative feelings about his family. My opinion, it's very insulting. If he's got microaggressions he wants to discuss, why hasn't he come to me? I'd hope that the one person who accepts me as myself in my adoptive country would be my husband. But frankly, it does not feel like the case here. I feel like the conflict of being foreign is being passed on to my child now, and sadly, by the other person who should love and accept her the most, the other parent. I personally have tried to be open to the thought, but just the principle of reasons why he wants to go ahead with this are incredibly shallow, superficial, and racist. I'm at the point of considering filing for divorce. It's not going anywhere. Curious to hear your perspectives. Thanks in advance. Update. So I've started talking to a legal advisor and have a conference call with her today. Weirdly, he has suddenly switched from wanting to work things out, aka find a solution, to conceiving a new family member that makes both of us comfortable. I'm suspicious it's his father who has now talked to him, but this should be genuinely coming from him and not his parents whispering into his ears. I think he is realizing what he is losing now. I am just so over this. I got kicked out of my own house and had to call the police to be let in by him. This was after he threatened to burn things in our property. I couldn't leave my baby alone there with him, and I didn't trust him. He also pushed me out of our kid's room and tried locking himself inside with her. I had to call the police again that morning, and then the social services people came to check on us. The other cause of friction that we've had is the newly bought house we moved in on January. It needed a lot of mandatory repairs, which I have paid for. I've done everything from cooking, cleaning, laundry, taking care of the baby, organizing repairs, and driving everyone around because I'm the only one with a car and a driving license. I've told him I'm exhausted, and he just doesn't care. Had the audacity to say to me the house has run better without me there. Rude. Ironically, yesterday morning, he messaged me inquiring what some maintenance guy said about the water boiler in the house because he was suspicious it was broken. Up until now, I have literally dealt with all of these things because he has not cared at all. I need a man who can take charge of some house duties, not a man-baby who just takes me for granted. Since I left the house, I can also see that the floors have not been mopped for about a month and our kid crawls. Update 2. I have no idea why I can't update the OG post. I did eventually divorce him. There was just no going back to this. After a while, his parents, as much as they may personally not agree with his views, also sided with him. Further down the line, I heard that she had, in fact, said something about me and our union to him that rubbed him the wrong way and made him feel stronger about his views. I am disgusted with both him and his mother's racist behavior. I wasn't able to hold them accountable at any point because he wouldn't even talk to his mother. In the end, they were just as bad as each other, enabling their behavior. The irony is that his mother brands herself as an eco-feminist and incredibly woke, whilst my soon-to-be ex-husband leans more towards the conservative side. My childhood friend quoted this nicely, which fits the scenario. In the end, they're people of the same mold that sing different lyrics but the same song. Good riddance to them. What the actual fuck? This man clearly hates her. The racism is blatant at this point. This man is saying he feels a disconnect with his own child over her appearance, and him treating his wife as less than because of her heritage. How much more racist can you get? And his family? Oh my goodness. His so-called woke mom is defending him in this situation? This is exactly how prejudice hides in supposedly progressive families. It is then passed down through microaggressions until it blows up one day. Then there's the abuse. Kicking her out, threatening to burn her things, locking himself in with the baby until the police got involved. It's textbook control, though it feels like there's more that she didn't share. They also dated for years, so the timing makes me think he probably has a fetish or something. Maybe he liked her exotic appeal until the baby came along, and she didn't match his whitewashed fantasy. I'm glad she got out, but I hope she gets full custody and keeps the child far from that toxic environment. Just found out I'm pregnant after having revenge sex with a fiancé of the girl who my ex-boyfriend cheated on me with for 2 years. My ex and I met when I was 20, but were only friends until we started dating 2.5 years ago. I found out last year that my ex had been cheating on me for basically our whole relationship with a girl he met through a mutual friend. I broke things off after I found out and told the girl's fiancé about their affair. He ended up breaking off their engagement after he found out, and she seemed nonchalant about it until she realized that my ex's money wasn't actually his. My grandma left me a lot after she passed back in 2019, and my ex had been flaunting around the things I'd gifted him throughout our relationship to her, even going as far as to claim that the house and antique car my grandpa left for me in his will were my ex's. It's not something I'm proud of now that I think back to it, but I did allow my ex to walk all over me for the first month or two after I broke things off because I missed him so much. I gave him money and tried to make things work, but would always get reprimanded by my parents and friends when I'd run to them crying after he ghosted me for her. I didn't officially give him up until the girl's ex-fiancé messaged me and told me that she was rubbing it in some of their old friends' faces about how pathetic I was and how desperate I was for my ex, who didn't even give a fuck about me. I was really upset and asked him if he'd be willing to meet up with me, because I knew that if I talked to my parents or friends about this, then they'd just lecture me even more. He agreed, and the two of us met up at a random food cart place. We ended up spending most of the day just exploring and talking about how we were doing. He'd also confided in me about his relationship with his ex. They'd known each other for 10 years, and they'd liked each other for most of the time they were friends, but he wasn't looking for a relationship because he was focusing on school. He had decided to give them a chance after she'd driven 12+ hours overnight to him, because they'd talked on the phone, and he said he was feeling under the weather and was stressed from how vigorous his residency schedule was. She dropped everything to take care of him, helped clean his place, and made him some home-cooked meals after finding out that he was surviving off of vending machine snacks and instant coffee. He told me in detail about how he'd never felt so loved and cared for, how after she'd done that for him, he'd decided that she was the one, that if this wasn't love, then love wasn't real. Finding out that she was cheating for the last 2 years made everything click into place. She'd been pushing off getting married, telling all her friends that she was having doubts about him. He'd been trying to convince her into going to couples counseling when I broke the news to him that she was sleeping with my ex. I felt like a monster hearing their love story and then realizing that they didn't get their happy ending because of my ex, and I messed with my head. We continued to talk from time to time, checking in on each other and meeting up for quick bite every now and then. We lost contact after the girl, my ex, cheated on me with somehow convinced him to take her back. I became slightly depressed after he cut me off, explaining to me that he was still in love with her and wanted to work things out, which meant a clean slate. I found out through some internet snooping that my ex cheated on her too, which was why she went back to her ex-fiancé. A few months passed, and things went back to semi-normal. I started getting therapy, and was about ready to put myself back out there to try out the dating pool again, when around New Year's I got a call from the guy. He was crying and asking if I was available to talk. I, of course, said yes and out of concern met up with him at his place. He broke down to me and told me about how he'd found her and my ex in his mom's guest bedroom during Christmas when she'd snuck him in for a quickie during his family's busy holiday party. All hell broke loose when he'd found them in the guest bedroom after spending 20 minutes looking for her everywhere. We drank a bit and ended up having sex. He apologized and told me that it was a mistake and he wasn't in his right mind, that he just wanted revenge sex, but it didn't make him feel any better after. I tried to message him platonically a few times after to see if he was alright, but he blocked me, so I dropped it and went on with my therapy and life. I went in last week to check with my doctor since I'd been getting bad cramps and to get a new prescription refill for my birth control that I used to help with my PCOS. I had to do a usual test to double check for the possibility if I was pregnant and was very surprised when it came back positive. I have been sitting on this new knowledge and have been contemplating on if I should tell him, not tell him, or if I should even keep the pregnancy. My doctor did inform that since I am still in the earlier stages, I am still at a big risk of having a miscarriage. So I don't know if I should even be worrying at all about all of this, since there is a chance that I could lose it, and then it'd just seem like I was trying to grab at his attention or something. Especially after he'd made it clear to me that he wasn't comfortable talking to me anymore after we slept together. I haven't told anyone and have been going crazy because I don't know what to do. Update, 15 months later. A lot has happened since my original post. I know a lot of people were against this, but I went through with the pregnancy, and I am forever thankful for my beautiful baby. I had originally planned to get an abortion, but I found myself unable to go through with the appointment. I am pro-choice and always will be. Just because I chose to keep my baby doesn't mean another woman or girl should be forced to keep a pregnancy they do not wish to continue. Everyone has a right to their own bodies. My parents were very upset with me, and my whole family disowned me. I listened to what some of you said about letting the father know we'll be referring to him as D. After many failed attempts to reach out to him, I decided to go in person. D was not happy when I showed up at his place, but when I told him why, he agreed to talk with me. D let me know that he'd officially ended things with his ex and wanted to go no contact with me because I was another tie to his past with her, but he was willing to try and figure out a co-parenting plan with me if I agreed to a paternity test first. I of course felt a bit bad about the paternity test part, but agreed to it since we both had only been acquaintances that bonded over our trauma. Everything was honestly easy cruising until I started to spot around the 26-week mark. My OBGYN explained that while spotting is normal while pregnant, mine was heavier, and my blood sugar or blood pressure also both worried them because of gestational diabetes and preeclampsia risk. After a few nights of D insisting on sleeping on my couch, I had him help me move some of my things to his place, since he lived closer to the hospital. I am very thankful I decided to semi-move in with him when I did, because I went into premature labor at 32 weeks. I am very thankful to have had D and his family as my support system. His mom would come and switch out with him at the hospital and advocated for me whenever I felt washed out or unheard. She helped me both emotionally and physically and stood by me. D's mom also helped me work through my emotions. When all I wanted was my mom, she and my dad had gone no contact with me after I decided to keep and have my baby. D's mom was an absolute godsend, also because she's a retired nurse. She started in OB, went to NICU, and eventually later settled into lactation before retiring, and explained things to me when we found out that my baby had respiratory problems and had SUA, single umbilical artery, and that it could have been a factor into why I went into premature labor. She stayed with D and I so she could help me with pumping since I wasn't able to produce milk, and encouraged me when I felt like such a failure for not being able to take care of my son. When he needed me most, she drove me to and from the hospital while my son was in the NICU because I was healing and so mentally and physically exhausted. I really and truly believe that I didn't fall into deep postpartum depression because she held me and helped me with each step and was always so patient with me even when I wasn't with myself. Dee's mom would constantly remind me that nothing was our fault and no one did anything wrong. It's just that everyone is faced with hardships in life, and this was one we'd work together to get through. My son graduated from the NICU and came home a month after I did. Dee's mom visited us often and helped with him since Dee and I are first-time parents. Dee's dad joked that he felt like she and I had the baby together, and he and Dee were both just background characters that make guest star appearances every now and then, since Dee was working so much in order to build more PTO, and his mom wouldn't bring his dad along when she'd come visit since she didn't want him to disturb me and the baby with his loudness. Dee's dad is hard of hearing and can sometimes be unaware of his volume, so he took no offense to it. Dee's siblings and family members posted a lot about our son because he was the first grandchild and first baby in a long time. Dee's youngest cousin is 17, turning 18 this year. Somehow someone must have shared a photo or something, but pictures of us reached my family, and my parents demanded I let them meet my son. Dee was supportive of whatever I chose to do, and said he'd agree to them meeting him if that's what I wanted. After thinking about it for a few days, I decided that I wanted to talk to my parents before I let them meet my son. When we met up to talk, my parents were offended that I didn't bring my son with us and left him with Dee's parents. They said some really hurtful things, and then my dad started to question on when Dee was going to ask him for permission for us to get married, since we didn't already have a shotgun wedding while I was pregnant. I was okay with them insulting me since I'd grown up with it and was used to it. But once my parents put their target on Dee and his family, I became upset and decided it was time for us to leave. My parents did try to petition for legal visitation rights. Honestly, before this whole ordeal, I did not even know that grandparents' rights existed, but were denied because my son is still very young, and because both Dee and I are very much on good terms, are living in the same household, and they couldn't find or prove that there was any danger to our son's well-being. My family did try to reach out to us and claim that we were horrible people for denying my parents their grandchild. But no one ever seemed to be able to make a peep when Dee's family would defend us and point out that my family had been the one to disown me, and that no one cared to see if I was okay until after I had the baby and everything was handled. Dee's mom and my mom got in a verbal, almost physical altercation after my mom had made false reports to CPS and called the police to do multiple welfare checks on us. My mom was given a warning by the police for harassing us after one specific incident where she threw a tantrum and caused a scene when the police found nothing wrong in the welfare check and refused to listen to her demands to have my son temporarily taken away from us and put in her custody for his safety. Dee and I currently have restraining orders pending against my parents and certain family members. One of the reasons I decided to update is because about 2 months ago, a friend of Dee's asked him out to have some drinks, and they ran into his ex-fiancée, who later messaged him to tell him that she regretted the way they ended and how she was very hurt when she heard that we had a baby together, especially with it being so soon after their relationship. Dee wouldn't talk to me about how he felt, and when I asked him, he just brushed me off or switched the conversation onto a topic about our son that he knew would distract me. I noticed Dee pulling away from me, and how her relationship became a bit awkward and strained after their run-in and her message, because I know he still has feelings for her, and I am afraid that he might feel trapped with me and our son. I also noticed that the drama with my family has made Dee and his family less patient with me and my son. During Mother's Day, I overheard a few of his family members make comments to Dee about me being at their family barbecue, since I was just my son's mom and not really part of the family. Dee just shrugged and said I didn't have anyone else to spend the day with. With how tense things have been, I have been thinking about moving out and back into my place. I stayed with Dee at his place after I gave birth, but now that our son is slightly older and I am healed, I want to give Dee back some space, so that he can start dating again if he wants to, and to give him back some more bachelor time when I have our son. I want to find a way to approach me moving out and us making a co-parenting plan without making things more awkward or possibly ruining the relationship I have with Dee and his parents. I don't want them to feel like I'm not grateful or anything, but I do want to go back to work and get my life back on track so that I can provide my portion of needs for my son and not want to depend on his family for more than appropriate. Update 2. I don't think anyone really cares for this update, but I'm going to put it here for anyone who may want to know. After the last time I posted, things were a bit awkward and tense between Dee and I for a few weeks until Father's Day. I honestly didn't feel comfortable going to his aunt's house for their family gathering because of the conversation I'd overheard during Mother's Day, but I went because it was Dee's first Father's Day after we'd had our son the previous year. Dee apologized for making me worry, and for not standing up for me when his family said things about me behind my back, but told me that he honestly didn't want me to move out and for us to split our son's custody, especially because it was comforting to know that he was going to be coming home to the both of us after spending a long day at work. I told him I didn't want to ruin the day, and we could talk about things the next day, but Dee was adamant on us clearing the air, because he was tired of how uncomfortable things were between us. Ironically, Dee told me he was afraid of me feeling trapped with him, especially after seeing how traumatizing it was for me to go into premature labor, deal with our son in the NICU, or being separated from him, and me healing postpartum. Dee also said he felt worse about everything after seeing how my family treated me, and then how some members of his own family held it against me. He told me that, although he himself didn't mean to do this in any way, he felt like I was trapped and isolated with only him for me to depend on. He made sure to make it crystal clear that while he would want for us to try and work towards a relationship to see where things go, he agreed that he would rather us be on good terms for our son's sake, and if that means us having a friendship-like relationship with mutual respect for one another, then he is okay with it as well. We talked for a while about everything and cleared the air of any questions. Dee let me know that he genuinely didn't feel anything for his ex-fiancée, and that the reason for him becoming distant had nothing to do with me, and was because he'd had a life crisis when he thought about how different his life was compared to how he'd wanted and thought it would be like. Dee and I came to an understanding that my son and I would continue to stay with Dee, and I would get a part-time job to slowly ease my way back into working. Things were rocky and a little odd to navigate at first, but Dee's parents helped us a lot with our son when I started job hunting and got a part-time position working at a local bank branch nearby Dee's place. Dee and I slowly started to explore our relationship to see where things would go between us. It was weird for the both of us because of how we'd met and started out, but within 3 to 4 months, things got much better. I moved my things from our son's room into Dee's. Our son had a hard time initially, when Dee and I began to show more affection, hugging, and quick innocent kisses with one another, because he had a bit of jealousy at how close we were since he was used to us only showering our affections onto him and not each other. But he's gotten used to it now. Dee's family has said in a playful, joking manner that we should give our son a sibling to play and grow up with since no one else from Dee's family has kids. But I try to avoid the conversation of when we'll have more kids. I took some of your advice, and I joined Mommy and Me groups, so my son does have some playmates his age, but I do sometimes find myself feeling guilty for how lonely he may be when it's just him and us at home. This past Valentine's, while in the heat of the moment, Dee did make a few comments about wanting to get me pregnant again, but when I mentioned and clarified with him afterwards, he said it was just him being really into it at the moment. Dee and I have previously had a conversation and agreed that, because of my PCOS and how unbalanced my hormones are, I wouldn't go back onto birth control because of how I've been feeling much better after the birth of our son. So we are using the calendar method as a contraceptive for my end, but I have tried asking Dee if he'd be willing to use condoms, and he's made it clear that he doesn't like them, and it's completely off the table for him, because he doesn't like the feeling of being constricted in latex. I know he's clean and so am I, but we've had 2 previous pregnancy scares. There are times when Dee forgets to pull out, but he's assured me that if we get pregnant again, then it wouldn't change anything except that we'd have another baby. And I might have to quit my job and stay home again, but I know I'm not ready for that yet. Our son is only just turning 2 later this year, and it's already so hard juggling just one child with our schedules and jobs. I don't know how we'd manage with 2 kids. Dee and I are in a wonderful place right now in our life and relationship, so I don't want to keep bringing up contraceptives or anything because I don't want to ruin the peace. I've been contemplating possibly going back onto the pill or looking into other options I could use, but I'm scared to put my body through a whirlwind of hormones and put a toll on my mental health again. If anyone has any suggestions, please let me know. Thank you all so much for your support and kind words. My life has truly changed for the better, and I am forever grateful and thankful to every one of you for your words of advice and wisdom. This is probably the dumbest revenge sex story I've ever heard. One hookup, he blocks her, then bam, pregnancy. The whole thing is ridiculous. This is exactly why certain types of revenge never satisfy, because they turn something that was supposed to be a quick emotional release into long-term consequences. Honestly, therapy would have been the smarter choice. And everyone in this story was incredibly frustrating. First, the family drama. Opie's parents disown her, then come crawling back demanding grandkid access, and even filing for rights. Mental. And Dee's family, besides his mom, they start off supportive, then start shading her as just the baby mama. Both sides are equally toxic. Then the exes, with the same old toxic cycle. Sure, Opie and Dee bonded over their shared pain, but when you skip healing, resentment is only a matter of time. It's wild how this started as petty revenge, and ended with a child caught in the middle. Opie got pregnant and decided to keep the baby, even though Dee clearly wanted to move on from anything tied to his ex. I don't know what she was thinking. Well, now they're together, the kid's doing well, but Dee is refusing condoms, forgets to pull out, and laughs off pregnancy scares. They're both young, naive. And to be honest, it's selfish and manipulative on his part. Opie's health concerns are valid, but that guy keeps dodging all contraceptive responsibility. I wish Opie had moved out when she thought about it, for her independence, her sanity, and so Dee could figure out his feelings without trapping them both in this fake-ass relationship. It's just messy, sad, and it never should have gone this far. My mother tried to trick me into joining my sister for dinner after she tested me around her husband. This is actually crazy and there's going to be lots of details, so please bear with me. My sister recently got married. It's been about 3 to 4 months. I didn't really see much of them after the wedding, honeymoon, and then back to work. But once a month, our family all gets together and my parents host a huge feast. Since this took place a week ago, it was for the month of August. During this dinner, my brother-in-law was being extremely weird towards me. He was complimenting my body, ignoring my sister, and just straight up acting so strange. It was completely unexpected for several reasons. One being that his wife was sitting right next to me, and 2, he has only been married a few months. Also, he's just never spoken to or about me like that before. I felt really uncomfortable, and I'm sure it transpired to the rest of the room, because what the fuck? Except it was weird because nobody was pointing anything out. I was extremely confused and just wanted to leave. I left early, but when I got home, I just felt so icky. I don't even know how to describe it. I decided to message my sister and let her know his behavior made me uncomfortable. I told her that it was also concerning that he felt comfortable enough to say these things in front of my parents and brother. I explained that if she didn't feel comfortable being in the middle, I wouldn't mind explaining this to him myself. His behavior was so unnerving that I FaceTimed my boyfriend, who was away for work in the US. I told him it was weird, and how suddenly my brother-in-law's behavior towards me went from that of siblings to this horribly uncomfortable situation. He was pissed, rightfully so. My sister didn't respond to my texts until the next day. She asked to meet up, so I did. I was expecting her to be upset and to have him apologize for what he said. Instead, she admits it was all a test and I passed. I was confused, to say the least. What did she mean by a test? Passed? Like, what's going on? Turns out, she had her husband do those things on purpose, because she wanted to see how I would react if he had said those things to me and meant them. My reaction and choice to message her afterwards told her I could be trusted around him. I was offended, to say the least. Why would she think I couldn't be trusted? Well, let me tell you the, in my opinion, not very valid reason for this lack of trust. My sister has been married before she was 27, and the divorce was about 10 months into the marriage. Her ex was a psycho, to say the least. He had known me longer than he did my sister. I was the one who had introduced them. They got along well, and eventually started dating. It looked like the healthiest and most romantic relationship to grace planet Earth, except when they got married. During their marriage, I was staying with them because it was a closer commute to work. They had extra bedrooms, and I would pay rent and cook and clean for myself. My underwear, bras, and panties would often go missing. It started off small. I just assumed it got mixed up in my sister's laundry and would turn up eventually. But it was happening more frequently, to the point I was buying underwear almost weekly. I kept pressuring my sister to admit she was stealing my underwear, and she was adamant it wasn't her. I decided to just ignore it and go about my day. Something I hadn't even considered an option was the real reason. My former brother-in-law was stealing my underwear. I don't know, nor did I want to know what he was doing with it when I found out. But I was so disgusted and confused. Someone I thought was my friend was actually just a perv. He admitted he had never really loved my sister and was just using her to get to me. I was just so creeped out, and I pressed charges against him for his sickening behavior. I was able to get a restraining order, and my sister divorced him almost instantly after finding out. She used something traumatic that happened to me and flipped it to make it seem like I'm the one who was untrustworthy. She claimed I must have strung him along for him to think like that, and this test was just to prove I wasn't doing it again. Safe to say, I was extremely hurt and angry by her response, so I told her to never speak or contact me again if that's what she really thought of me. My family found out, and for the most part, they agree her behavior is crazy. But my mother stood by her actions and said my sister was just trying to protect herself from being hurt again. I told her that if she had just been honest with me from the start, I wouldn't have been as bothered. There's a right way to approach things and a wrong way. This isn't just wrong, it's also crazy. Why is she so adamant that it's my life goal to hurt her? I didn't know that her ex was going to turn out like that, so why am I being punished? She claimed I should have had some indication he liked me, but he really made it seem like he was head over heels for my sister. How am I supposed to know what's going on in someone else's mind? Anyway, the family dinner was for earlier this month, as it was the most compatible date for everyone's schedules yesterday. I told my parents to expect me not to show up if my sister and brother-in-law were going. It wasn't even because I refused to ever speak to her again. I had just said that because the situation was so fresh. I told my mother I would apologize when I had cooled down a little. It was just difficult to face them when they made me feel like a horrible person for a situation that was out of my control. My mother assured me my sister wouldn't attend, so I agreed to come. When I arrived, they were both there. It felt like an ambush, and it sort of was. My sister demanded I apologize for my reaction, because it was my own fault it happened in the first place. I can't lie, I snapped. I told her she should remove my number and the title of being my sister if she really felt that way. I just need advice because therapy isn't scheduled for another 2 weeks, and I feel like I just dreamt a soap opera storyline. I feel kind of bad because I do understand my sister had her trust broken completely by her ex, but I feel like that distrust shouldn't be aimed at me, but the person who actually caused it. And I was the one who introduced her to the asshole in the first place, so I feel guilty for that already. But I'm failing to see how her schemes to manipulate me into thinking she's being wronged by a husband once again is just far too extreme. I want to apologize to her for one reason, for ever introducing that man to her. I really need her to see that I wasn't trying anything when her ex was stealing my underwear. I was just as in the dark as her. How do I go about doing the above? Because I want to put this behind me and move on. I was just about healing from her former marriage, and now this one is also putting me in a very uncomfortable position. With my sister, my brother-in-law, and my own mother. Any advice on how to tackle apologizing, getting my sister's trust back, and showing her I truly just want the best for her? P.S. Apologies for grammar mistakes. It's 2 a.m., and I usually sleep around 10 p.m. It's possible that parts of this won't make sense, so I'm more than happy to try and make things easier to understand in the comments. I'm just so tired that my brain is working at less than 10% right now. Update, 3 days later. A lot has happened over the last couple of days. I have tried to read all the comments and taken everyone's advice. This has been the outcome. I lost a sister and a mother in 2 days. It's heartbreaking more than anything. I had a meet-up with everyone. My boyfriend came with me, so I had support during the conversation. Honestly, it was hard to look at any of them for the way they treated me. I am so thankful to everyone for opening my eyes to the crazy behavior exhibited in the first part of this story. In front of everyone, my mother admitted to knowing about the plans from the start. Sister confided in her, and she agreed it was a good idea. She supported her son-in-law, openly harassing her daughter. I'm in complete shock, and it just hurts so much, knowing she would condone this, considering she knew how much I was affected by the first husband. She knew I was having a difficult time in therapy. It took me a long time to trust people again after that, and I feel like once again, my trust has been broken. I don't know how I'm ever going to trust anyone again. I'm really thankful my boyfriend was there to comfort me, because it was so hard keeping my composure around them. My sister was not budging at all. She kept maintaining she was in the right. She said the only reason I wouldn't apologize is because deep down I knew what her ex was like. She said I just liked getting attention from him, knowing he was married to my sister. She also claimed I overreacted, and if it's acting, then it's not harassment. I told her she shouldn't expect any calls or texts, or just not to be contacted by me until I received the apology I deserve from both her and my brother-in-law. Speaking of, he was pretty silent throughout the whole thing, probably because my father threatened his life if he spoke bad about me. He did say that the only reason he did it was to placate my sister because she kept accusing him of ogling me. But still no apology from him. My mother. This one broke my heart the most. She told me I was over-exaggerating and that I should be happy to have passed my sister's test. She actually said the words, "We can all move on now." I was in complete awe, to be honest. How could she think that things would just go back to normal after this? I asked why she was supporting such delusional behavior. She said it was because she loved my sister and wanted her to be happy. I asked her if she loved me as much as my sister. She said yes. It seemed hesitant, but I don't want to read too much into that. I told her I wanted an apology for her schemes. She refused, so I gave her the same conditions I gave my sister and brother-in-law. Until I get an apology, I simply am not speaking to all three of them. As a result, I also probably have to go low contact with my brother and dad because they both live with my mother. I mean, I'll hang out with them outside and without the presence of my mother. But if she'll let them is the question. I know some of you have suggested spending time with my boyfriend's family on holidays and occasions. I think it was just one person, but oh well. I haven't met my boyfriend's family before because they live in the US, but after this situation, I've taken a 2-week paid holiday for the end of this month, and he's taking me to meet them for the first time. I hope it goes well, because they might be the only family I have now. My therapy session has been moved to tomorrow because I requested an emergency appointment. Wish me luck. Anyway, my biggest thanks goes to all you Redditors for helping me see the situation for what it was. For your advice and compassion, I'm really grateful. I don't think I would have been able to get through this on my own. It's likely I would have caved and apologized just for the pattern to repeat itself. Truly, thank you so much. Wishing you all the best, and I hope you know that your advice might have just saved me from my need to always please others. I'll look back on this moment anytime I feel like putting someone else's feelings above my own comfort. Hope your hearts are filled with love and happiness. Layla. Update. 9 months later. Posting this on my profile instead, because a few people have requested an update. To be honest, there hasn't been much to update on in that particular situation. I am in contact with my mum now since the incident, because she apologized. My sister and I still do not speak. From what I know, she is still married to my brother-in-law, and I think they're expecting something I inferred from a family friend's Facebook post. I am doing a lot better though. I've become closer with my dad and brother throughout everything. My relationship with my mother is more strained now. I feel like I still can't trust her, even though she apologized. I don't think we will ever be as close as we were before my sister's schemes. My relationship is going really well too. He was asking about rings, so I'm thinking a proposal might be in my future. Also, his parents are just the best. They've sort of taken me in, and it's so cute how they dote on me like I'm their daughter. His whole family is just incredibly supportive and uplifting. We're going to visit them again in July. I'm so excited to go back. I love it in the US. The weather is better, the people are nicer, and of course I get to see where my man grew up. I just feel so much lighter and happier now that I've put what my ex-brother-in-law and current brother-in-law have put me through behind me. I wish her the best with her pregnancy, but that's all I can do since she is still refusing to apologize. This probably wasn't the update you were looking for, but it's all I can give at this moment. Hope you're all having a wonderful day and a better summer than I'm having. Oh, and anyone from TikTok, my brother-in-law and mother are not together. I've asked the person to take it down, but they haven't responded, so I just thought I would make it clear. Brother-in-law and mum have not slept together or done anything weird to my knowledge. Final ever update. I'm done with them forever, 3 months later. This is probably the hardest thing I've ever had to admit to myself. I wish it didn't have to come to this, but unfortunately, I think it's the only way I will ever get to live a normal life again. My sister has been telling our family members an entirely warped version of events. I only found out when I sent out save the dates. I got a call from an aunt telling me I was brave for inviting all these people after ruining my sister's life. I was so confused, so I asked her what she meant. She elaborated a little by saying that I was wrong for trying to seduce both my sister's husbands and that my fiancé was an idiot for supporting me. I laughed, out of astonishment, not amusement. First, I told her to watch what she has to say about my soon-to-be husband. He's the only support I've had during this horrible moment in my life. Then I told her what truly went down. She was shocked and didn't believe me. I told her she could easily go to my parents and brother to confirm it. Well, she informed me that my mother already confirmed things for her. I was so pissed off. Words can't describe the anger that I felt in that moment. It was like everything I had gone through in the past few years had all piled up, and I couldn't take it anymore. I just hung up the phone. I rang my mother, who was begging for my forgiveness a few months ago. I told her I was done. She supported my delusional sister in her crazy schemes, and I forgave her. Out of the goodness of my heart, I chose to put that shit behind me, so I didn't lose my mother. But she went behind my back and sided with my sister in front of our extended family. She made everyone think I was callous enough to seduce my own brother-in-laws. She allowed people to spread lies about her own daughter. I told her I never want to see or speak to her again. I called my brother and asked him if he knew any of this had been happening. Thankfully, he didn't. Neither did my dad. I then wrote a letter to my sister. The details of the letter held 4 main points. 1. That I was deeply sorry for everything she had been through. It did not mean I understood or forgave her actions, but I was apologetic for how things turned out. 2. She needed to seek help for what my former brother-in-law put her through. 3. I was stunned by the fact that she thought she could lie about what happened to everyone and get away with it. She had truly lost the right to call herself my sister from that point on. 4. I wished her the very best in life, but that I never wanted to see or hear from her ever again. She has caused me far too much pain to the point I'll never be able to forgive her. I will never speak to, reach out, or even entertain the idea of reconciling with my mother or sister again. It is up to my father and brother whether they choose to associate with them, but for me everything is too unfixable. The lies have stacked up so much that there isn't a pair of scissors sharp enough to cut through. My fiancé and I have decided that, with everything that has happened, we will just have a town hall wedding. Just a couple of witnesses, and me and him. I'm so eternally grateful to have found him. He's my entire world, and without him here to talk me out of a breakdown, I might never have survived. Family is not always who you are born with, but those you meet along the way. I've been so incredibly lucky to have met some of the best people I can start my own family with. It is with great sadness that I make this update. It is my own fault for believing in the best of people. To think that I would ever get an apology is just so naive, but I think this may have been a blessing in disguise. At the very least, I'm choosing to see it like that. This chapter of my life is officially over, and I can now move on to better and brighter things. Thank you all for tuning in to this portion of my life. Love you all, and hope that you all have better luck with family members than I have. By the way, I know people are curious to know my ethnicity. I'm mixed race. My mother is Indian, and my father is English. I grew up and lived in England most of my life. This story is just wild. Because what do you mean you're testing her by making your new husband act creepy at dinner, just to prove your sister isn't trying to steal him? The fact that the mom is in on it too enrages me. I absolutely despise familial bias. It's madness to me. All it does is enable horrible behavior. The sister is still clearly stuck on her ex's betrayal. But instead of healing, she scapegoats OP. Also, that brother-in-law just goes along with it. Wow. Spineless. In the end, Opie walks away from both of them. And honestly, good for her. Sometimes cutting ties is the only way to win in these types of situations. Am I the a-hole for wanting to leave my fiancée due to her abusive family? I've been dating my fiancée for 4 years and have been engaged for 7 months. We're trying to plan out a wedding for roughly fall next year. Her childhood was terrible and abusive, to put it mildly. Her parents were raging narcissists, and she was the scapegoat for her 2 brothers. She was abused and thrown out the moment she turned 18. She was, however, a great student and hard worker, so with some scholarships and a part-time job, she has a great career and is pretty independent. The problem is, though, is that she still had contact with her family. None of them have changed. Well, actually, something has changed. They have become more financially dependent on her. They enjoy slowly creeping back into her life and emotionally blackmailing her for support or whatever she can do. They're not pleasant about it either. They're rude, smug, and generally enjoy being a nuisance, and my fiancé can't say no, no matter the horrible things they say or how they outright try and intimidate her openly. I've always known her family history and have always supported her through the issues with them, but in the last year or so they've become far more brazen and asinine. They come over to our house more often. They make messes all around the place. Her mother acts like she's the fucking stepmother from Cinderella. Her dad drinks all my fucking beer and empties out half the fridge. Her brothers stop by occasionally to act as mouthpieces for their parents. They practically trash the place and leave us to clean the mess. And where is my fiancé in all this? Quietly standing in the corner, practically shaking. I'm no fool here. There is legitimate trauma. There's her need to feel loved by them, and her hoping they will appreciate her. Before one of you noble commenters states the obvious, she's been in therapy for this for years. I've tried to establish boundaries. For nearly 2 years, I've been trying to push these assholes away. But this is her house she purchased, and no matter of contributions, financial or otherwise, will she let me have a say on who comes into her house. She's been beaten down mentally and emotionally by them for so long. She has told me recently that she wants to earn their approval, how they were right about her, how she needs to be better for them. I've had too many emotional conversations with tears and begging to count, hoping she will take the steps to get better. But she's an adult. I can't force her to do anything. I love her, but I can't help but feel so resentful of what she's doing. It's agonizing watching someone you love, someone who you know deserves so much better, openly destroy themselves for people like her family. It's been painful watching her cry herself to sleep one too many nights because of them. I've tried too many times to help her get out of their clutches. But I have to think of the future. What happens when we have kids? What happens when she is postpartum and invites them over? What happens if there is a medical emergency for either of us? What if our finances get tight and they still demand money? This is the in-law family from hell, and I won't be able to avoid them. Tomorrow, I'm going to tell her how I want to delay the wedding until firm boundaries are established. If she resists, I walk. I can't do it anymore. I refuse to watch a slow death like this any further. Update. Talked to her, and it went about as well as one could possibly expect. Currently getting myself set up in a hotel for a few days, and working on possible long-term plans for moving out. Still a lot going on right now, but maybe sometime next week I'll be able to put everything together into one update. First update. The night after I made the first post, I had decided that I was going to have a heart-to-heart with my fiancée about her family. However, she came back from work the next day early, and I already was off that day, so I initiated the talk a little sooner than I planned. Essentially, I told her how this arrangement was not sustainable. I did not feel comfortable marrying her due to how much involvement in her life her family has, and I certainly did not feel comfortable bringing a child into this world with them. I didn't want to tell her cold turkey no contact with them, but strict limitations to start with on them coming over and what they can do around the house. I also requested couples therapy before marriage. She wasn't happy. She was just staring angrily at me while I spoke, then started yelling at me when I finished. She told me I don't understand their dynamic, and it worked for her. I told her that they're abusive users who will bleed her dry, and I have never seen them show any decency to her. She told me she just had to work harder for them to appreciate her. I basically yelled at her that a parent's child shouldn't have to beg and plead and work for them to be loved. I finally told her that she sets limits with them, or I walk. She was livid, and since I was living in her house, I was kicked out. So the past few days I have been staying in a hotel and have had my stuff taken out and put into storage. And frankly, it's been great. I am going to stay with family for a few weeks around mid-July. And after that, I am going to go house searching for myself. I have spent the last couple of days relaxing, catching up on movies and video games I haven't had time for, and could go back from work to a quiet room without her family tearing the place apart. Yesterday, however, things came to a head. We have basically been no contact since she booted me out, but I know every Saturday her family loves to spend the afternoon over, and she uses me as a shield from their abuse. However, in a very petty move, I simply kept my phone muted all day and played Disco Elysium. I knew she would call back for help with her family, and at this point pure resentment was kicking in for her, and I wanted nothing to do with her issues. By the end of the night, she had sent me over a dozen texts and finally 2 frantic voicemails begging me to come home. I decided to come over to check up on her. Long story short, she was sobbing in the living room, and when I came to talk to her, she was practically crushing my back, hugging me and sobbing. I gave her time to cool off and asked what happened. Long story short, her parents and brother came by to guilt money from her and say horrible shit to her. She wanted to have me come over to help, but I was ignoring her, and when she tried to have one of her friends help out, and everyone basically said fuck that, it all started clicking in for her. She kicked her family out, but not before they said some utterly vile shit to her I won't repeat. She kept apologizing to me, and told me over and over to come home. I told her plainly that I had started to build up heavy resentment towards her for some time, And while I loved her and understand it was trauma and not her being outright abusive, there were major issues that would need to be addressed if we were to move forward. 1. She sells the house and moves. We make roughly the same amount of money, and we will buy a house together. I am a grown-ass man, and I will not live in a house I have no equal agency over. 2. Her family will never step a foot in it. They will never come over. They will be treated by me in a very threatening manner if they try and come in. 3. She gets a new therapist, and we start premarital counseling. 4. She never makes me interact with her family. 5. We will go low contact with her family right now, but make no mistake, we are working towards full no contact on her end. I told her I love her. We have been together for a while now, and have beautiful memories together, and I know she is suffering from abuse, but these are non-negotiable. And if she has a problem with any of them, then we have to go our separate ways. She told me she's realized for a while now that her family is toxic and unhealthy, and she wants to make changes. She has accepted, but some of these will take a while to see through. For now, I am going to stay in the hotel until I head back to stay with my family. She is welcome to come over, but I have made it clear that her house is not somewhere I want to go. Her and I are both off tomorrow, so we will spend the day here and maybe go out. This is obviously not over yet, but I might not post anything else until mid-August or so. Second update. Despite all intentions of not updating until much later with the hopes of an improved relationship with my fiancée and her establishing boundaries with her toxic family, we are now broken up. Essentially what happened was, after last weekend, where I left her for the time to deal with them herself, she seemed to finally grasp the situation and was open to changes including boundaries and a possible move. We spent Monday and Tuesday hanging out in my hotel that I was staying in until I went back to my family for a couple weeks. The other night, she was being very vague with texting when she originally was supposed to come over. She came much later than expected, and I knew something was up. She basically unloaded on me how I was abusive, controlling, overly demanding, and unsupportive. It took me 5 fucking seconds to figure out she was repeating verbatim some sort of rehearsed speech from her parents. And to be honest, I was so agitated at this point, despite making a huge gamble on her, I decided to be a prick about it. I asked her if her family told her to say this. She said they suggested it to her, but she came up with it herself, sure. I asked her to explain in detail what I did. She said I was living like a parasite off her. I reminded her that I'm paying 50-50 for her fucking mortgage, 50-50 for utilities and groceries as well. I have my own car I pay for. A job that makes just about as much as hers, unlike her fucking leech parents who demand payments on the weekly and raid the kitchen on the weekends. I told her to try again with something better. She looked flustered and said I was trying to isolate her. I kind of smirked like a jackass and told her that I have always supported her many friendships that she has destroyed on her own because no one wants to deal with her family or be used as a shield like me. I was practically demanding to know at this point why she is so hell-bent on destroying her life for these people. She just kind of shouted that I don't understand her family, and she's just trying to earn their love back, and was basically ranting at that point. It's just so staggering to see up close. I have ventured into a few subreddits to get perspectives, and if you have any familiarity with them, you'll see how people who are victims of abuse by their own family can be so utterly broken by it that it'll wreck their brains to where they truly believe they are the problem and they deserve the abuse. Well, that's how she was. She was utterly broken and didn't want help. She didn't want to get better. She just wanted to get worse. It hit me like a truck. Honestly, the realization. I really did feel like a fool for trying, even if it was what I was supposed to do in the first place. She was practically berserk at this point, and I was just mentally exhausted and needed her to leave before someone called the police. She finally left, but I had a few concerned neighbors check on me. Some of her friends are aware as they have messaged me checking on the situation. I told them the truth, and that I just needed to be alone to think what to do next right now. They have revealed that she has given them similar rants after they expressed concern for her. One had even heard that she may be possibly at risk of losing her job. She is definitely having some sort of mental break. From my understanding, she is now completely isolated. She is actually sprinting into a horrible, lonely life right now. There's nothing I can do for her at this point, and as selfish as it sounds, I'm just glad it's going to be behind me. Third update. Things have kind of wrapped up, but there were some loose ends. I completely forgot to change my mailing address, which I should have done ASAP, so a couple important things got sent to her house. I had to go pick them up, plus a final couple of items I want for my move that I left there, and decided I wanted to actually take. She was being difficult and not responding to messages in regards to them, so I had to go get them from her myself. I brought a mutual friend, just in case. Thankfully, she was at least cooperative in letting me get my stuff, and it wasn't much of an issue. Everything else was, though. She had a lot of nasty things to say, telling me she was already sleeping around, telling me how happy she was now that I was gone, telling me she's finally free of me, how she's going to be so much better off without me, a lot of generic insults and horrible things you would commonly expect from a nasty breakup. And you know what? It was so fucking obvious it was a rehearsed script from her family, and you could easily see how miserable she was. She looked like a mess, like she hasn't slept in days. The house was a mess. She wasn't even yelling it. She sounded so exhausted and broken when she said it. She didn't even smile when she said anything. Just a face contorted in hate and anger. She was not the woman I knew anymore. That person was gone. When I was getting ready to leave, she was still going on. I was fed up and told her something along the lines of, "Congratulations. Your friends are gone. Your human shields are gone. Your engagement is over. Your support is gone. Anyone who ever treated you like a decent human being is gone. It's just you and your family. I hope you're happy while they bleed you dry." It probably didn't go like that, but something like it. She just stood there. Literally just stood there and looked at me with indifference and walked away as I walked out the door. As we were leaving, the mutual friend Tiffany asked if I was okay. I reassured her I was, and I'm just trying to get myself set up to go home next week. She also confirmed that she hears my ex did lose her job for not showing up for several days and basically ghosting them. They're going to try an intervention next week and asked if I could participate, but I'm not delaying my travel because frankly I just want a clean break. I know for a fact that if I stay involved, I'm only going to be witnessing the slow descent to either a full break or a suicide. I just can't do that. Despite all this, I'm actually excited for the future, and I have realized that I ignored way too many red flags at the beginning. Even with everything that happened, I know I'll be doing good, and I'm going to be alright. I expect this to be my final update. I'm still in town until Sunday afternoon, so something could happen while I'm still here, but if anything does, it won't be exciting. Fourth update, I'm currently back in my home state with family, refamiliarizing myself with the area. I have 100% decided to stay here permanently, and I'm starting the long process of looking up homes in the area. I've been doing great, and hanging out with friends and family. A couple of mutuals with my ex-fiancée have let me know what's been happening, and things finally seem to be getting better. The plan was for an intervention on Sunday, but Saturday night, after her family visited again, she called friends in an absolute manic state, and it finally seems to have clicked how bad she screwed up. It was a full-blown panic attack and meltdown, which ended with her in the ER. Needless to say, she finally admits how miserable she is, and that she's messed up her life badly. Apparently she tried calling me, but I had her blocked. She still has her job, and that info about her losing it was wrong, but she's hanging by a thread there, and her boss has basically ordered her to use her PTO for a few weeks to get her head on straight. She's a valuable asset there, and they are trying to make sure she can fix herself before they pull the plug on her. Her friend group is extremely close. My ex was someone who was a very helpful and supportive friend, so it makes sense her group is going this far in trying to help her. It is, however, an unspoken agreement that if she goes back to how she was again, that they are all prepared to let her sink on her own. She's doing as well as can be expected. Her family has continued to harass her with calls and messages. They've tried showing up to her house, but have been firmly redirected by friends and even neighbors. I hope she truly understands the kind of support system she has. As trashy shitshow family disputes usually go, her parents and brothers have taken it to Facebook, which, from what I heard, has been in my ex's favor, as it has exposed their behavior to many more people, and seems to have shut them up for a little. Finally, she had one of the mutuals pass a message to me. Essentially, it was her admitting all the horrible things she said to me were not true, and were done by her family, as I knew they were. She apologized for how things ended, and hoped we could one day reconnect. Sadly, I had to relay that we need to stay separated for good, and she just needs to focus on her healing, but I told her I still care for her, and I wish her the best, but this needs to be our goodbye. The message seems to have been passed along, and her friends are helping her process that. She's got a long way to go, but I hope she can find her peace as I am finding mine. Fifth update. I didn't actually think I'd post another entry to this mess. I've been doing very well since I came back home. All of my stuff made it back here, and I am currently set up with my family while I house hunt. I've gotten my job set up here, and have been back to work for the past week. I occasionally come here to comment and shitpost, but that's it. Unfortunately, despite all intentions by my ex's friends, the situation is now truly over in the worst way, and the friend group has been shattered as a result. My ex has taken her own life. Pretty much everything I am going to relay I learnt last night. Since I left, her friends have been helping her get back on her feet, pushing her to better therapy, helping establish boundaries with her family, getting her out of the house. They truly went above and beyond. However, Tiffany, the friend who was there helping me the last time I talked face-to-face to my ex, began to grow suspicious of my ex when she saw her becoming touchy-feely with her boyfriend Daniel when they hung out at her house. I don't know too many details about when push became shove, but she eventually got a hold of her boyfriend's phone when he was asleep and found very sexual messages between them. And as a fucking giant shocker to me, these dated over 5 months back. Tiffany obviously lost her shit and told everyone. What no one could have expected was the shit show that was to follow. Daniel, Tiffany's now ex, in a massive fuck it move, threw another member of the friend group, Joseph, under the bus, claiming he helped cover for him. Joseph's girlfriend, in return, dumped him and kicked him out of her house. A friend group consisting of around 9 people, including my ex, practically exploded, and the only people who still talk to each other are Tiffany and Joseph's ex, mind you. As I was being told this, I was informed that all. Of course, everyone wanted to know why she did all that to one of her best friends. She just gave the usual spiel about how they had grown close, he was a good support system for her, and of fucking course she has told her family about him, and they approved of him instead of me. The night I left her house to my hotel, she then invited him over. Apparently, her endgame was to leave me for him eventually. However, he wouldn't leave Tiffany for her, and he utterly loathed hearing about her family, so he obviously wouldn't go for anything more than a secret affair. Truly, I imagined I would be far angrier than I was, but I had already begun to move on. I had done a full health exam recently at my new doctor's office, and had gotten a clean bill of health recently, including no STDs, so I didn't have to worry about that, and frankly, it just wouldn't do any good at this point. I was told that I wasn't informed because, honestly, no one knew how to drop that on me so late in, which I understand. So yeah, my ex was completely ostracized, even by Tiffany's ex, who just outright disappeared. She was blocked and left to deal with her problems herself. Tiffany only knew that she finally lost her job for good, and basically spent all her free time having her family over. They had finally won in a way. 2 nights ago, it was discovered that she had taken her life in her home. Her family found her. One of the members of the old friend group who lived nearby showed up at her house when medical was showing up. Her family was there and seemed like they couldn't care less. Tiffany called me last night just to give me a heads up. There were several notes, and she as delicately as possible asked me if I would want mine just for closure. I really don't know what to do about that. I am feeling so much fucking mental whiplash right now. I truly never knew this woman at all. I've had to accept over the past month that I've been home that she was abusive in the relationship with how she put me through shit with her family. And now it seems like it was a way to try and drive me off so she could be in the arms of another man that her family seemed to like. Which frankly makes me even more confused, because what did he have that I didn't? Did they just enjoy fucking with her life? Was anything with her real? Was anything with the group of people I spent years of my life with even real? Being back here is the best decision I've ever made, and now I have full confirmation of that. I can start some therapy. To process this mess, spend time with an actually trustworthy group of people, face to face instead of online, and I have family close by for support. But yeah, this is gonna fuck with me for a long time. Oh wow, guys, I knew this story wasn't gonna end well with the way it was progressing, but I didn't think it'd be this bad. Her family was just pure toxicity. They are narcissists who drained her emotionally and financially until she couldn't even say no, and all she wanted from them was to be loved. It's sad, really. Then the cheating bomb drops, sneaking around with her friend's boyfriend. I don't know if she saw this as some twisted escape, or if it's truly because her family approved of him. Either way, this is exactly what blew up her life. She lost everything. Her job, friends who truly cared for her, and a fiancé who loved her. Sadly now she's gone. And her family didn't even care. It's sick how they won by completely isolating her. I do feel a little for Opie too. He tried to save her, had to walk away, and then found out she died. That's just brutal. This whole thing is just a reminder that toxic families affect their target as well as everyone around them. If you're in a similar situation, please just get out before it consumes you. The only person who loses anything is you. That's all for today's batch of toxic and downright infuriating Reddit confessions and stories. Some of these had me shaking my head the whole time. I couldn't believe what I was reading. I've got more stories lined up for this month, but if there's a specific theme or type of confession you want to hear, drop your suggestions in the comments. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you don't miss the next one. See you guys.